If you remember on one of the last videos, we did the 1.5-inch spacers across all four corners on our LX570. Brought the wheels flush with the fenders. Looks much better than the tucked look from the factory. And if you also remember, we're running larger tires than stock. I think they're about 1.5 inches or so taller than the factory tires. And what that did for us is caused a little bit of rubbing issues on the front. We've got a little bit of rubbing back here in the corner and a little bit up front. It's not all the time, not during normal driving, just while you're in a parking lot, turning pretty tightly to get into the little parking spots and around corners and such. So what we're going to do today is attempt to fix that. I'm not sure what the fix is going to be yet. I'm going to start with a heat gun and see if we can heat up those plastic panels and bend them away from the tire and create enough clearance. If that doesn't work, we may start looking at cutting some material off. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is start up the truck and set the AHC to the high level. If you have a Land Cruiser and not an LX570, you don't really have that option. And you can kind of follow along and see what else I do to create a little bit of clearance without necessarily having to remove the tire and the wheel off of the truck to get enough access to everything. So I'm going to start the truck up, get it set to high, bring that as high as it'll go. Then we're going to turn the wheel to one side, see what sort of clearances we need to look at and the areas that we need to create more clearance, and go from there. We've got the truck in high. As you can tell, it's a little bit higher than it was a second ago. We've got the wheel turned all the way towards the driver's side. And let's see where we got the rubbing. Oh, that's obvious. So from here all the way to there. Now, what I want to do is see what's behind this and see if I have enough room to bend that piece back. Let's see. Oh, that's beautiful. All it is plastic. There's nothing behind this thing. So if we're looking at the front, this is where that bend is. So I want to get this entire panel essentially pushed backwards. And I've got a lot of clearance up here to do that. I don't know how difficult this material is going to be to bend. It's part of the mud flap. So this is the mud flap that extends up here, goes down, and then ends up back here. Let's see. Yeah, it's all just hard plastic. Some sort of, it's not ABS plastic, it's some sort of plastic or composite material. And that's this side of it again. So if we can get this heated up enough to push it backwards and then let it cool down, it'll keep that shape. And we should be fine there. That one's an easy one. Let's see, what's the front look like? Well, the front's obviously rubbing right here. We're not quite touching right now because it's in high, but when it's in neutral or low position, it does rub there. That piece, let's see what's behind that. Okay, that's just the air dam. That's part of the factory aerodynamics that allows air to get pushed away from the tire as much as possible so that all of the air is not hitting the surface of the tire when you're going down the highway at high speeds. I wonder if it's rubbing anywhere down there on the remainder of this panel here, the wheel well liner. We'll have to turn the wheel the other direction to find out. So first, before we do that, I'm going to get my heat gun and start working on this back section. Let's see how it goes. The heat gun I'm going to be using is this Wagner Furno 500. These come in very many different variations, model numbers, feature sets, etc. I'll put a link down in the description of where you can buy yours. I think I got this at Home Depot, but I'll put an Amazon link down below as well. This one has adjustable fan speeds as well as adjustable temperature. And it has the nifty little display to tell you what fan speed you're on, and then also what temperature you're on, from cold to hot. I'm going to set it to about the middle just to get started. And as we get some more heat into that plastic, then we'll see where we are and see if we need to adjust the heat any. I don't want to push too much heat out because this heat gun does get very, very hot. And if you're not careful, instead of melting the material, you could end up burning it. So let's get it set to medium temperature. I'm going to set it right there at a higher fan speed. Let it warm up, and then we'll go at it on the plastic panel. While that heat gun is getting up to temperature, it only takes a few seconds, but I'm giving it some time. I went to the toolbox and tried to find something large with a large flat surface or rounded surface that I can use to push against that plastic section to try to create more clearance as it heats up. You can use whatever. I was actually kind of at my wit's end as far as what to use. I was about to grab a mixing bowl out of the kitchen, and I started fearing for my life as I imagined what my wife would do to me if she saw me using her mixing bowl. So I went back to the toolbox and found this guy. So this is what we're going to use, or at least try to push this material back as it heats up. Here's where we are so far. Made a lot of progress, actually. Let me see if I can get you a better view here. So if you remember, when this came out, it went straight down, and now it comes to the point and then goes inwards. And I got it heated up enough to where it was flexible, and every time I tried to bend it in, it would pop right back out. Trying to figure out how to get it to stay. What I ended up doing is grabbing this guy, pushing it up against here, applying heat with the heat gun across that entire edge, and then taking the heat off of it and holding this here until it cooled down enough to keep its shape, and that ended up doing the trick. Now, I don't know if this ledge is still going to rub. I think it probably will. So what I'm going to do, especially on this side wasn't terrible. If I looked at the rub marks, it was really this side. So what I'm going to do is apply more heat here and push this piece here inwards. And then this little corner right here, if you see, this is sticking out further than this. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not. So this part right here is sticking out further towards the tire than this part right here. So I'm going to try to apply heat here and push that in as well. And then we'll put everything away and get the truck back to the normal height setting and see if that has fixed the rubbing issue in the back, and we'll go to the front. Now we've got most of that pushed back. I'm holding this piece right here to wait for it to cool down. As I push some of that top section back where the bend is, it caused this flap to kind of point outwards towards the tire again, so I applied more heat, and now I'm holding it back till it cools down. For the other side, and I wish I would have thought about this earlier, I'm going to have a spray bottle of water to help with the process when I want these pieces to cool down quickly so I can move on to the next piece. But I think this should be enough. If you look over next to the bolt up there, that area I was able to push back quite a bit, and I think it's going to clear okay. And if you look up here, right there, that section, I pushed that back as well. I think I created another 1/2 inch, maybe 3/8 inch worth of clearance there. And as soon as this piece cools down and stays right here, I'll be all done with this side, and I'll test it out, see what sort of clearance we have against the tire when it's in normal height, and go from there. I think we've got it to where everything should clear, but we'll find out here in a minute. Stay tuned. Here we are with the vehicle in neutral height, normal height, and I've got the wheel turned all the way towards the passenger side so that we have worst case scenario for where this guy's going to rub. And I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a good amount of clearance there. Probably, I'd say, not quite, I'd say a 1/4 inch, more than a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/16. And then down here, we've got tons of clearance now. Again, not sure how well you can see it. Got about a 1/2 inch there, about, I'd say 3/16 inch there. I do have more space right there to push this piece further back. If need be, I'll go ahead and do that, but I think we might be okay. I'm gonna drive it like this and see how things look. And worst case, if we still need to push it back further, we will, and we've got room to. If you see this guy has space to go further back right there. This piece up here, this hump, has room to go back a long ways, and we can push it back further right here. The only spot where you can't really go further back is past this point. So from here on this way, you've got, you know, the hardware that sits behind this, where this guy bolts into all of the hard pieces behind this section. So from here on that way, you do have a lot of room to push this material backwards. All this part that looks like it's shiny black, that's not where the rubbing was necessarily. It kind of was where the rubbing was, but it's all shiny black because of the heat from the heat gun. I know some people are probably going to ask in the description and the comments below if you can do this with a blow dryer. No, you can't. Blow dryer is not going to get anywhere near hot enough for this thick type of plastic, or if it does, it's going to take you forever. So highly recommend a real heat gun that gets up to decent temperatures. 1500 watt would be preferable, but you can go with one of the 1200 watts as well if you need to. So I think we're good there. I'm happy with that result. I don't think we're going to get any rubbing. If we do have a little bit more space to push that material back. Now on to the front. All right, we can see pretty clearly where it's rubbing. We've got some rub marks here, here, and here on the speed flap. Now, behind this, there isn't really anything there to keep us from pushing that material forward. This is a different material than the mud flap that we just bent back on the rear of the tire. So I don't know if this will be as easy to bend, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. What I'm going to attempt to do is, if you see, this is kind of bent into a shape for added rigidity and strength. You've got the race section, the valley, race section, valley, race section, valley, etc. And what I'm going to attempt to do is take this race section and this race section from about here downwards. That's probably about, I'd say, 3 inches worth of height here and 3 inches worth of height here, and then push them forward towards the front bumper. See if we can do that, and if we can, then we'll figure out what to do with this bottom piece. I'm not sure what to do here yet, but we'll get to that. We're going to start with these two race sections and go from there. First things first, let's get it heated up. So this is where we are so far. I've got that piece pushed back. It is almost flat with the valleys, and now we're going to work on this piece here. I don't know how well you can see that in the video just because it's all so dusty and dirty, but this piece went back probably about a 1/2 inch, maybe a little bit more even, but it went back quite a bit. In hindsight, I applied a little too much heat here, and as I was pushing it back, instead of gently being pushed back, I kind of melted all that plastic into place along that crease that was formed as I was pushing that little bottom bump backwards or forwards towards the front of the truck. So I'm going to do the same with this piece here and get it heated up and push it forward. That should, I think, create enough clearance in these two spots. Then really all we have left to be concerned about is this guy here. And I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Worst case, I may just remove this speed flap. I'm not sure, but I'll get to that. I'm going to take care of this piece here first and then get to that speed flap. So there's the end result. Got a little bit ugly up here. Again, in hindsight, I should have applied less heat up there. But this could be a good lesson for you as you're doing yours. Less heat, take your time, don't rush. This looks a little bit ugly, but it's still really, really hot. It'll start to flatten out as it cools off. Now the speed flap, I don't know if it's going to rub or not. I'm guessing it's probably going to rub slightly. I don't know if it's going to be enough to bother me. I think I've decided to leave it in place and drive it and see how it goes. Now what I'm going to do, the vehicle is already in the neutral height mode. I'm going to turn the steering wheel all the way towards the driver's side so we can see how much clearance we do or don't have there. Steering wheel is turned towards the driver's side. Let's see what we're working with. Oh wow, we got clearance for days. That's almost an inch of clearance right there. So yeah, the front, easy, really easy. That worked out real well. I actually have a decent amount of clearance to the speed flap. I wonder, I don't know, maybe that's just when it hits some bumps or the suspension tweaks certain ways. I'm not sure. I'm gonna leave that speed flap there. But yeah, as you can see, there's enough clearance for me to stick my hand in here now. Not even close. I think I created about an extra inch of clearance there. So if you have bigger tires and you have a 200 series Land Cruiser or LX570, give that a shot before cutting anything. I think you'll probably be pleasantly surprised how easy it is to create more clearance on the front and back for the front tire instead of cutting stuff. And if you do run into where you need to cut some things, oh well, it's for fun, right? Hope you enjoyed the video and this was useful for you. I'm gonna get going on the other side of the vehicle. I've gotta pull this thing out of the driveway, out into the driveway and do it there. Obviously, there's shelves and walls and family stuff, Christmas decoration. I don't know what all's up there. I dread to even try to take those things down. They'll probably be there until we move and sell this house in a few years. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Give this a shot if you need to create some extra clearance on your 200 series. So here's the real test. Backing out of my driveway while having the steering wheel turned. That's when it rubbed all the time. Let's see. Oh, no rubbing. Let's do a little U-turn in the cul-de-sac, see if we get any rubbing. I'm anticipating a little bit of rubbing on the passenger side, but let's see how it turns out. Let's see, we'll go up, full clock to the right. No rub. Full clock to the left. No rub. Okay, that's good. Let's try that in reverse. In reverse, it does act a little bit different. So, full clock to the left. Let's reverse. Oh. I do hear a little bit of rubbing on the driver's side. Full clock to the right. No rubbing. All right. So, I'm guessing, let's see, if we're to the left and reversing, okay, that means the rear side of the driver's side tire needs a little bit more clearance. That's easy, we can do that. There's plenty of room there. Let's see if it'll rub going up the driveway. Nope, perfect. I'm really happy with that. All right, I'm gonna make one more adjustment on the rear side of the driver's side tire and we should be all set. Again, hope this video was helpful for you. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. Love you guys.